Okay, guys, so here's the spiel. My husband, I caught him cheating. He's a dirty little snake. However, I've gotten really used to this comfortable lifestyle, and I don't want to go back to my minimum wage job. So I'm literally just not going to say anything, and I'm going to ignore the fact that he's cheating. But when I tell you some details of this story, a lot of you guys are going to absolutely cringe. Because you're going to wonder, how can I do this, continue to disrespect myself, just so I can live up to the standards I want? Well, let me tell you my story. My life reversed from when it started. I was born into a poor family and was never a bright student to win a scholarship. As I grew older, my family demanded I support them. I found a job as a cashier and started working there. I had to do a double shift to gather money for my father's operation, who was suffering from some rare stomach disease. It was a hard routine, but what I could do before my fate. My colleague often even remarked that I'm so pretty I could be a model or something. But it was a futile idea to me because I knew that my background just simply would not support it. So I kept working as a cashier. At least it filled our stomachs with food, and one day, while I was working as usual, a young attractive man appeared before me for the bill. He had a great charm in his personality, and he looked at me, and he too seemed lost in me. He whispered for the bill, and I knew he was highly attracted to me, but I didn't understand why he was so attracted to a girl like me, a poor girl, a cashier. But before I could reason my mind further, he asked for my number. Honestly, it was shocking for me because I never had an experience like that, and he left the scene with a smiling face. It made my day. Throughout the day, I could not stop thinking about him. At night, I received a text from him. He apologized for the late message, but told me that he did not text earlier because he thought that I would be busy. We started a light chit-chat, but soon we were laughing. He had nice jokes to share with me, and talking about him, I learned that he was a rich guy who owned a software company with thousands of employees working under him. This made me a bit uneasy because a friend of mine had a seriously bad experience with a rich guy. And my friend was in love with this rich guy, but he left him after using her. She wept and asked for his mercy, but the guy did not look back at her. She was mentally tortured out of love and emotions, but that rich man did not seem to have any sort of heart. I stopped chatting with him out of fear. I didn't want to experience what my friend's gone through. The next day, he again appeared at the shop and asked me why I ghosted him last night, when everything seemed to be going so smoothly. I did not expose my concerns and made some lame excuse. Before I could come up with a strong idea to make this end, he told me that he had reserved a table for us in a nice restaurant for that very weekend. He did not claim that he loved me or anything like that. He just asked me to start a good friendship with him. He told me that I could trust him. But I didn't know what to do, as I did have mixed feelings for him. And when he left the place, a friend of mine came close to me with a teasing smile and said, "So, looks like you found the man of your dreams." I don't know. But deep down, I knew that my heart had already started beating for him. Throughout the week, I was definitely worried about what I would wear for dinner because I didn't have any nice dresses. I imagined borrowing a dress from a friend, but then this idea seemed too futile to me, and I felt ashamed, and I thought about our relationship and it wouldn't work.
How could I afford such an expensive relationship, I asked.
But you know what? He solved my problem. The day before the dinner, he showed up at the shop again and handed me a few gifts. I was excited to open them immediately, but it was my working hours and I simply could not do that. I waited for my shifts to end. As soon as I reached home, I opened the gift. A nice dress, a bottle of some expensive perfume, and a watch were inside there. This drew my heart even closer to him, and he had understood what I was in need of. He picked me up for dinner from my house, and it was nice to spend time with him, and I learned how humble he truly was. He didn't brag about his money or the empire of his father. He was down to earth and a good man, I thought. He told me that he's fallen in love with me when he first saw me, but now he was more attached to me personality and character. He held my hand and said that he wanted to be with me. He asked me that I should take time to understand him and then we could tie the knot. He starts spending time with my family. He's paid for my father's surgery and often took my little sisters for a walk and even bought her some ice cream. My family liked him. They admired that I found a man of pure heart and soul. Long calls and nights replaced our text messages. With each day passing, we're growing closer and closer, and finally the day came. He proposed. I said yes. I knew that he was the real man, a man which every girl could have dreamt of. But it wasn't easy. His family was not in favor of our marriage, and they raised objections about my background. Her mother chastised me when he took me to his house, and his father made fun of my dad. He made jokes about my father's ailment, but you know what? Jason, the love of my life, dealt with them and told them that he was in love with me, and no matter what, he would not leave. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. We're about to hop into update number 1. It came out a year later. So here we go, update number 1. I hope you're having a fantastic day. It's been a year since the last update. Well, after my in-laws' interactions, Jason and I decided to take a break from our busy lives after our marriage, and we went on a romantic honeymoon to Switzerland. It was a welcoming relief for me years after working hard and trying to maintain a hectic routine. Everything seemed like a dream, but it was a reality, and I was just enjoying every single moment of life with my love. Our bond became stronger, and I thought nothing could ever come between us. After returning home, he started his routine work. He often tried to get home as soon as he could to spend time with me, to take me to expensive hotels, and I loved going shopping with him. He never complained about my expensive choice. To him, I was very dear, and he could afford to say no to me for anything. One day, on his return home, I told him that a childhood friend of mine had arranged dinner for us in the upcoming week. At first, I didn't want to go there because it, could not be up to his mark, but I knew that he wouldn't mind. He's the person who always looked for purity instead of fake semblance. But maybe it was the worst mistake to make, introducing my friend to him. I was excited to meet my friend. After all, it's been a long time since my marriage. Busy parties offered by his friends never let me spend time with my friends again, but now I was finally going to meet my best friend. It was a more attractive arrangement by Samantha than I could have imagined. She never funked in her artistic touch. And more importantly, she's an amazing cook. While we were enjoying dinner, I felt a strange pain in my stomach. I had to use the restroom. I left them alone at the dining table and made my way to the toilet. How could I know she was going to try to seduce my dear husband? When I returned, I saw that he was holding her hand. It made me uneasy, so what's going on here? He could have understood my expression and told me that Samantha had just shared about her job. She looked at me and told me that she was fired last week. Jason promised to help her. Or she was going to help Jason? He was very natural in his acting. He continued devouring food and made flowery remarks about her delicious food. I could sense that something was wrong, that something would result later because of this small meeting. On returning to our home, he told me that there's a post vacant for an account clerk. He asked me if I would confirm, and he would allot that the very seat goes to Samantha. How silly I was. I was happy that he wanted to help my friend, so I smiled yes to him. He smiled back, but I didn't recognize that devilish nature behind those eyes. 2 days later, Samantha, she calls me and told me excitedly that Jason had made her life easy by granting her the job. She was worried about her bills, and he gave her half of his salary in advance to pay them. Could not explain how happy I felt for her. Days passed, and he starts getting home late. His passion for me seemed to dwindle to me, but he always assured me that it was a load of work that he was just consuming his mind with. I believed him with my eyes closed and never even raised an objection. But when things were going out of control and I could not resist him, I went mad. One night when he returned home late, I was angry. I yelled at him, but he dealt with me calmly. He must have known what I needed. He cuddled me all night, told me that he loves me, but the fragrance from his shirt contradicted his exact words. See, his shirt had the fragrance of a lady. I objected out of fear, but he made an excuse that it was perfume brought by his friend. He just checked it out, nothing more. I hugged him again just to realize my troubled soul. He promised me that he would take me on a trip soon as the load of work disappears, and he was tired as usual and just wanted to go to bed, and was craving to talk to him as usual, but who cares now? It was the weekend when he told me that he had an unexpected business tour out of town. I packed his things urgently with all my love, and I wanted to join him, but he discarded that idea of taking me with him by convincing me that it would be a one-time tiring thing. But on the next departure of his day, I made a call to him. I was missing him badly and wanted to hear from him, but he didn't reply. I didn't know his exact schedule. Believing that Samantha may know about his business tour, I tried to reach her. I tried multiple times, but she also did not pick up. After 10 minutes of anxiety, I started scrolling Instagram. To my surprise, I saw a story. A story of Samantha. She was on the beach and someone was holding her hand. The man, well, he wasn't visible, but I recognized that very hand. I would never miss it for the whole world. It was the hand of my husband. It was the hand of Jason. The story was updated just 10 seconds ago, and before I could take a screenshot, it was gone. Maybe she had forgotten to hide me. I didn't know what just happened. I wanted to shout loudly, but shout at whom? Jason? Samantha? Me? Who was to blame? I didn't find the answer, but what I'd seen made my body shattered. It was soul troubling, and my mind was shocked and my heart throbbed faster than ever. I asked myself questions, and lips whispered, but I was unable to find any conclusion. I darted towards the bed, jumping on it, and I deepened on my face of the pillow. I was shouting, but the pillow was the buffer to hide my passion. It absorbed all of my shrieks. Update number 2. He returned from the trip and behaved as if nothing happened. Neither I talked about it nor he shared any graphic details of his tour. He had brought gifts for me, but it all seemed dull. Maybe they all lost the essence of love. Or was it compensation for the cheating? Because they are more expensive than usual. I was in front of the mirror when he tried a necklace around my neck. It was a diamond necklace that was reflecting brightly, but who cared? When my heart was dark because of his fake love. Did he never love me? He was staring straight into my eyes, and for the time being he looked as if he was all mine. Mine alone, and we made for each other only, but then he turned his back to pick up his office bag. I whispered, "Was she with you?" I had no strength to listen to the truth and had no power to face his gaze, but the scene was prevented from being created, as he pretended that he didn't listen to my words. How could I repeat that question when already half of my strength was mustered up on the first attempt? When he left, all the imagination gathered me again, and I was loitering in fantasies where he was holding Samantha's hand, and I thought that I should talk to him and make everything clear. But what would he do? Was she the first girl with whom she cheated me with? I don't know, but I had to make sure that he cheated me before claiming anything. Late at night, when he came home, he seemed tired and more romantic to me than ever. While we were on the bed, he shared shocking news with me. He had fired Samantha. Wait, what? Why did he fire her? If he was using her for his pleasures, but now I wasn't able to be convinced easily. And yes, I was right. It was his new trick up his sleeve, which I'm going to share with you guys shortly. We smiled at each other and faked as if we didn't know about his filthy, dirty secret of cheating. To make things clear, well, I had come up with a solid plan. I tried multiple times to reach Samantha, but she seemed away. But fortunately, she picked up a call after hundreds and hundreds of my tries. She told me that she had struggled to find a new job after my husband fired her, and now she's very busy. But I convinced her. I've convinced her to come to dinner. When I told her that Jason and I would be happy to welcome you, she agreed to join us for dinner, but I've kept this plan secret from Jason. On the planned day she came, nicely dressed and tons of makeup covered in her face. Jason was shocked to see her. I had noticed his expression. He was surely surprised at her arrival, but he had welcomed her as she was a guest, and there was no apparent reason to keep her out of the house.
Or was it?
While having dinner, she used her phone to reply to someone. This someone was my husband, who wanted to see her alone for a few minutes perhaps. After dinner, they excused themselves and walked towards the lawn. I had no objection because I really wanted to hear their conversation. I wanted to extract the same solid proof from that conversation.
I hid before a peeler and my ears were keenly interested, but unfortunately,
there wasn't anything of use to me because they talked shop. I returned to the TV launch with peace of heart and mind. Yes, he fooled me again. Days passed and he started behaving like he used to do at the beginning of our marriage, taking me to dinners and buying me expensive gifts, but I don't know why I had bad feelings about him. Samantha's story was hitting my mind like a horrific dream, so I decided to crack his phone's passcode, which was very clear to him and nobody knew about it. Once I tried my birth date was a pin, then his birth date, it was an effort in vain. On another occasion, I tried our first meeting date and then the highest bill he's ever paid for me, but money wasn't something worthy to hide such dark secrets. I almost gave up on trailing his unknown actions, but maybe it was my fate to learn what he did, and yes, I learned when my dumb brain worked for the very first time in my life. One day, he was in an emergency and his phone was on charging. He had forgotten to take it with him, and now I had more time and chances to unlock his phone. I put pressure on my little brain. Multiple attempts failed, and suddenly something clicked. Hit my mind straight. It was about his grandpa. Once he had told me that he could forget anything, but not the day when his grandfather was diagnosed with cancer. Yeah, I was right, but I still had to struggle to find the date. I rushed into his library. As you know, I was never literate enough to explore a library. But my problem was much bigger than my inability. It was the time that kept me away from making any excuse for myself. I struggled hard and fortunately found a file on which a plus sign was printed. I picked up that file and there was a picture of an old person. I presumed it was a photo of his grandfather, but I was not blessed enough to see his photo prior. So, I had to do more investigations. My patience was getting lost, but I kept on with my job, and for further confirmation, I was constantly looking forward to finding the name of his grandfather and details about the disease. And finally, I won to find all the relevant details. Now it's time for another attempt to screw up the passcode. And I believed it was a blissful time. I applied the date to the day when his grandfather was diagnosed, and suddenly the wall screen appeared in front of me. I began to explore the chat box where I found out the heartbreaking, treacherous treasure of his cheating upon me. The love conversation of my adulterous husband had bursted me into tears. I tried hard to gather my courage to read the conversation further, and I found out that he made Samantha appointed in his friend's office to keep both of them safe. Their illicit relationship was not bearable for me, but I had to tolerate the intolerable because of certain reasons. I didn't want to go back and live the luxury-free life of an employee, and more significantly, I loved my husband passionately. Well,
3 months have passed, but still, I'm not accustomed to what's happening or happened. I can't live without him, but what I did was right. I mean, what could I have done? Confront him?
I don't know, the fact that she's discovered this through the Instagram story, and then instantly right after that the story was deleted, that's a huge red flag, but OP even knows that he's a cheater, but she just doesn't want to leave him. So that leaves me one question for you guys. If you found out this information and you had a comfortable life and you didn't want to go back to working minimum wage jobs just to survive, what would you do? Let me know your comments down below, because this is a very interesting story and I just want to know your opinion. Guys, thank you for tuning in. That's going to wrap up today's video. My name's Mr. Reddito if you're new to the channel, and I narrate stories every single day, some of the most dramatic stories I can possibly find on the World Wide Web. I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. If you did and you want to see more, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow.